Hey, what's up, and welcome back to Voth Quality Creative. Let's do a little recap. Here's where we left off in the last video. We started off with the mellow yellow bathroom and ripped about 50% of it down to the studs. I had some plumbers come in to repipe this bathroom with PEX pipe, as well as install the tub and shower surround. Now it's time to finish off the walls, paint, and add wallpaper. I went around the shower surround and added furring strips off camera to ensure the drywall would sit flush. There was a pretty substantial lip where the panhead screws secured the surround to the studs. I put some tape on the surround to make note of where the studs were, so I could be 100% certain I was drilling the drywall screws into a stud. Spacing each drywall screw about 6 inches apart, I sent each sheet of this mold-resistant drywall home. I'm really glad to start seeing the walls coming back together. I could then focus my attention on the subfloor. Whenever I walked into this bathroom, I was always welcomed with a major bow in the floor. A blessing of removing the underlayment was finding this pretty significant lip in the subfloor. I grabbed my belt sander and made sure everything was flush before reinstalling new underlayment later. I think it's pretty customary to find a cigarette butt somewhere within the walls of your home whenever doing a renovation. I found at least one with every house I've done something to. Pretty gross. With that removed, I went ahead and patched the area where the plumbers cut into the subfloor to access the pipes. I'm using this floor leveling patch to give the underlayment a solid point to rest on. Off camera, I cut down the sheet of underlayment to fit into the bathroom. This will give the flooring a really nice flat surface when I go to install it. I made sure to place the largest sheet in the middle of the bathroom where the most foot traffic would be. I'm really happy that I ended up removing the old underlayment since there were so many little discrepancies with it. I went around the entire sheet, securing it with ring shank nails every 6 inches and about every 4 inches along the perimeter. I would say those are pretty safely secured down. Now I can install the last sheet of underlayment. Let me just work around this extension cord, providing the only light to let me see. Oh man, I didn't entirely think this through. After yanking that cord free, I started cutting this vinyl strip down to size. This will be installed around the shower surround, giving a really clean finish. This strip is an L-bead with a tearaway strip. The little strip allows me to safely work around the fiberglass surround and adds a little bit more security so I don't damage it. I'm securing the strip first with spray adhesive and then going back with staples. Here is a decent look at that tearaway strip that runs along the fiberglass. I'll be able to place my putty knife on that instead of having to be super precise. I was definitely really delicate working around any portion of the tub though. I finished installing the remaining L-bead around the shower and could start mudding and installing the drywall tape. I'm definitely not a professional when it comes to drywall, but I found this portion of the bathroom to be relatively enjoyable. I mixed the joint compound to a really great consistency to fill any gaps and adhere the drywall tape too. This ensured that everything tied in to the old drywall really nicely. I'm also able to use the tearaway strip on the L-bead as a guide here, and will make the edge of the joint compound look really crisp. It definitely made my life a lot easier when working around the shower surround. Here you can really see how I'm utilizing that tearaway strip. I was able to rest the edge of the knife on the strip, flood a small channel with the joint compound, and feather out away from the surround. I then went back to smooth out any joint compound for a clean finish. After letting the first coat of joint compound dry, I then went back to do a flood coat. This will give the new drywall patch a really nice surface to sand and prep for paint. It also will help tie in the patch into the rest of the drywall. I'm also going over any of the old drywall to make sure there aren't any major bumps or divots. If I can get a really nice flat or smooth wall here, it'll make installing wallpaper much easier down the road. After finishing this step and allowing the skim coat to dry, I could then do my favorite part, a lot more sanding. I took my putty knife and broke down any major high spots first, and then used 220 grit sandpaper to get a really smooth finish before paint. It might be time for a shower. With sanding complete, I went around the edges of the ceiling to spray some orange peel texture, making sure that the smooth patch could look seamless with the existing ceiling texture. This proved to be a little messy, so I grabbed the piece of cardboard I had previously used to catch any overspray. It's not perfect, but hopefully when I go to paint, it won't look too terrible. When moving to paint, the first step is to always do the ceiling. I went around the internal corners first, and then could come back with a roller and flood the area. I'm so excited to be hiding this soft yellow color under a couple of coats of fresh white paint. Since we're in a bathroom, I went with a semi-gloss finish here. And to prime the walls before wallpaper, I'm using this stain blocking primer. Working in the corners again before flooding the area with a roller. For the ceiling, I didn't have to be as precise with paint, but where the walls meet the ceiling in the corners, I'm making sure to cut the edges nicely so I don't get any primer on the new paint. I was a little messy here, but the paint can easily be removed from the tub later. After the paint dried, I could remove this tearaway strip from the L-bead. Now that I'm thinking about it, this could have potentially been removed after the wallpaper install. Now it's time for the grand reveal. Let's see just how well I did with this edge. Not too bad. I just have a little bit of cleanup, but that looks like a pretty clean edge for the wallpaper later. If you watch the teardown video, I had shown a close-up of the textured wall. This is looking a lot smoother and a great surface for the wallpaper to adhere to. Speaking of wallpaper, let's get after it. When I had received the wallpaper, I made sure to look at which run the rolls were from. 2 rolls were from the same run, and then 3 from a different run. When installing this, I want to make sure each of the rolls from the same run are used together. One of these runs was a little deeper in the blue-green space, and the other one was flaring more yellow. I want to avoid mixing these runs at all costs. It's inevitable that the different runs will end up meeting at some point. I plan for them to meet in a corner where it really isn't noticeable. I've never used peel and stick wallpaper before, and honestly, I probably won't ever use it again. Whenever I apply stickers to my kids' toys, I'm always so nervous trying to make sure they're super precise. And this is essentially that, but at a much bigger scale. The key to this part of the project was by far this dry erase eraser. Usually I would apply a coat of glue to press the wallpaper up against, but with this, it's already sticky. The eraser gives me a really soft part to press against the wallpaper and smooth out, ensuring that I don't bunch it up or crease the paper. Then I could move to more traditional methods to cut off the excess wallpaper. Once the first sheet is installed, I could find the repeat and move along the wall. Starting the wall off is by far the most tedious, but all of the prep work makes the job much easier. The sheets where all of the internal corners meet are by far the most difficult. Patience is definitely necessary when doing this task, something I find can be really difficult. I think I had a few panic attacks during this process. Luckily, I was able to complete this portion of the wall and cut a clean, fresh edge, making it look like it belongs. Part of the reason I spent so much time prepping the wall to get a smooth texture was because I've never used this type of wallpaper before. My biggest fear was that if I had applied this to a wall with any sort of texture, eventually the adhesive backer would fail. I only want to do this once. Casting aside all of my fears, I made sure each sheet was applied really well, and I was getting really pleased with how everything was starting to look. The edge of the shower surround landed in the middle of one of the long sheets. I made sure to be really careful, only cutting into the paper where I absolutely needed to. This is where I probably could have used that tearaway strip that I had removed earlier, but I made sure to keep the blade away from the fiberglass. Here, I may have had one of those panic attacks that I was talking about earlier, and after a bit of a breather, I worked on this wall. I didn't have much to work around, so I could move a little bit more quickly, well, at least quicker. And after cutting around the outlet and getting rid of the excess, this wall was pretty much complete. I could then move to the wall that had the switches for the fan and the light. It ended up that I had just enough wallpaper to finish the rest of the bathroom. I was starting to get really nervous since I didn't want to have to order another roll, but luckily I had a few millimeters to spare. It seems like every project I do is a bit of a game of Tetris, finding the exact right piece to fit exactly where you need it. I went ahead and cut this long sheet of wallpaper down the middle. This ensured that I didn't have to work around the extra paper that I would need to cut off anyway. This helped installing the last piece tremendously. And with a sigh of relief, I was done with the wallpaper. I decided to install new switches and an outlet for this bathroom since everything else was going to look shiny and new. Well, almost everything, since I'll be reusing the toilet. The rest of this house has faceplates with hidden fasteners, as well as paddle switches, so I decided to install those here. I think it goes without saying, but whenever I do electrical work, I always shut off the circuit that provides power to the room I'm working in. I like to use this electrical tester to let me know I'm in the clear. And with that, the bathroom is getting there. I'm going to stop this video here since it's getting a little long, so like and subscribe to follow along with the next video in this bathroom series. The next steps are to install the lighting, shiplap, flooring, vanity, and toilet. So stay tuned if you want to watch me figure those things out. Thanks for watching.